As you can see, the session is going to be about distributed logging with Sentry. So on seeing this topic, on seeing this talk, right? So naturally, two questions arises to us: why Sentry for logging, and the next question is why do you even need to go with distributed logging, right? So why not a normal logging, which is working perfectly good, right? So what are the use cases and why to go with distributed logging? And the next question is why Sentry. So to answer to these two questions, so maybe let's go on with the slides what we have. And to justify this use case of going with distributed logging, I'll be mostly talking about the micro frontends, where micro frontend best suits for this distributed logging. But that doesn't mean only micro frontends needs it. So whichever is having components that's used by that's owned by different teams, we can go with the distributed logging. Okay. So let's move on. Okay. So yeah, so before going to distributed logging, I would just like to give a brief introduction about what this micro frontends are and why do you even need to use micro frontends. So basically, whenever we see a single page web application, so it will be having a lot of components inside of it. So be it search, home, navigations, or sidebars, those. So we can see there would be a clear responsibility where each components would be owned by different teams, and different teams collaborate together to bring a single web page applications. So what micro frontends? What micro frontends provides there is the capability where each team can work independently uh, without touching others code base, or so they can be as independent as possible, so that they can do a deployment freely and they can test their own components, and so they would be free. So independency is the one of the most important things. So micro frontends brings in that independency, gives it to the team so that they are free to deploy and test those components. So a single web page applications will be a single web page will be composed of different micro front-end components. And yeah, so there are some benefits that I have shared in the slides here. So you can see a better way to share code. As I said previously, it is environment independent and it resolves dependency issues. This mostly covers about the federated modules, which is being provided by the Webpack. Yeah, so these are some of the use cases that we can see with them. These are some of the advantages or benefits that we can see with going with the micro frontends. And yeah, so as I was also saying about this previously, when to use it. So it's whenever we see there is a global component like a header or a footer, or there would be a search component which will be used by multiple teams. So at those scenarios, we can try and test these micro frontends. And yeah, so it also helps to do this A/B testing analytics and for platform teams to get all the necessary metrics out of the component. And so moving on where exactly do we need to use this? So that's where we need to be cautious on. So how granular can we go with this micro frontends? So we should not be going at too much granularity. So we need to we need to break the components based on its responsibilities, and then trying to form a front-end components out of it. So we should not be going, so the things to take into note are, so we should not be too granular. We should be tried to split it based on the functionalities or components that the team owns. So yeah, so this is something, a brief introduction about this micro frontend. So let's get back to the topic now. And yeah, so as the topic is about this distributed logging, so as we started, as the web application started to move towards this micro frontend, so the difficulty part is how observability comes. How flexible are we in observing different components, and how are they or what kind of issues that they cause to the parent component that is consuming it. So observability is going to play a key role in this distributed complex ecosystem. And here we'll be mostly discussing about, so some tools that we'll be talking about here is first is a Sentry, which is going to be our key tool for this topic. So Sentry, what so as you can see on the screen, so Sentry is a error tracking Sentry is an error tracking mechanism for this JavaScript based applications. And yeah, it's basically a error management tool where any errors that get populated in the web applications can be published and posted in the Sentry. And And we also have this Medusa. Medusa here, it talks about this module federated dashboard plugin. So this is just a dashboard kind of a view. So I have shown here Medusa. It's basically to show a use case on how powerful Sentry can be when we integrate with Medusa. So yeah, so just to give a sense on what Medusa is, so Medusa, it's going to be a dashboard plugin for the module federated applications. And some highlights that we'll be seeing here are, so first is how we can use Sentry to collect logs, to correct the more specifically the error logs from the different components that is owned by different team, and then publish those error logs to the respective Sentry accounts, the respective teams having their own Sentry accounts. So so about how we can do that with Sentry. And next thing is so it talks about the Medusa. So Medusa is going to be a dashboard plugin. So we can just see that there are certain what to say. So let's say I have a home component, and what are all its dependency, how the components has been connected to other components. So those dependency chain. So it's basically going to be the version management, and then to some extent, Medusa also allows us to dynamically change the versions of the component that is being deployed. And the next key aspect that we can also do with this Sentry is this alerting. So we can also configure this alerting for errors. So we can also configure this alerting rules where for certain errors we can have the different integrations. So Sentry allows integrations with communication channels like Slack, or it can even have webhooks integrations. So yeah, so multiple other communication links is also being supported by Sentry. So yeah. So yeah, and it also allows the supports distributed tracing. So distributed tracing is also something that is also supported by the Sentry. And so let's move on. So let's dive a little bit depth about the Sentry. So Sentry can be used both as an open source tool, which where we can self-deploy in our clouds, or Sentry also provides, so it also has its own code where we can buy the product from them and then start using the features. So based on our needs, we can choose whichever best suits for us. But the latest features that has been developed, right? So ideally, they support going with buying the product. So where they have this cloud databases where they store that, where they support features which has been published recently. So yeah. But it's up to us whether are we planning to go with open source, or are we planning to buy this product. Yeah. And yeah, certain key highlights are so while using the Sentry, right, as I was saying previously, we can, so for each errors, so for errors that are occurring and after certain thresholds, if the error crosses a certain threshold, we can have a different alert mechanisms, or yeah, so those alert configurations can be done. And yeah, so even before the users reach to us, so for the certain feedbacks, we can know about the errors that are happening in the browsers. So that's something that faster feedbacks is something that the Sentry supports us. And yeah, and here also so Sentry, as I said previously, Sentry can also be used to monitor the performance of the application, how the web pages are loading, how it is even been responding to the consumers browser applications, and then what is the performance tracings. So these are some of the features. Apart from having this error tracking, Sentry also support distributed tracing, performance monitoring, and yeah, so those alerting mechanisms, those things. And yeah, so Medusa will be this Medusa, so basically to show if Sentry gets integrated with Medusa, how effective it can be. So what actually Medusa is, right? So Medusa is basically a dashboard or a dashboard kind of application where we can view how the dependency chain looks like. So let's if a single page is composed of 3 or more components, so how this dependency chain is being there. So those and what is the version that is currently being used by the components, irrespective. So yeah, so we can have a different versions running in development environment and a different version running in a production environment. So all those views can be seen through this Medusa. So what it does is it basically provides a dashboard kind of view where we can get more insights on how our component is having a dependency links with the other components. Yeah. So apart from this, other additional thing that Medusa also provides us is that dynamically we can change the version. So let's say I made a release for a particular component. And that component is having a error, so which it's not working as expected in the production. It started to throw an error. Once after a certain threshold, so all the errors will be published to the Sentry. So once after a certain threshold, we can have this alerts webhooks being configured from the Sentry. So Sentry calls the Medusa, and even we can have a self-healing kind of a mechanism. So self-healing is also possible if we integrate Sentry with Sentry to Medusa with the help of this webhooks. So yeah. So this slide talks mostly about this integration, how effective can it be if we integrate Medusa, Sentry, and module federations together. So moving on. How easy it is to integrate Sentry with the code base, right? So Sentry provides us with that. Here in the example, we have chosen React, but it also support other frameworks of other JavaScript frameworks also. So Sentry out of the box provides us with these libraries where you'll be provided with DSN. So DSN is a data source name to which you want to send the errors to. And apart from that, it also provides us with the option for integration. So what are all the other different integrations that we want to have? So here, to show a sample, we have this browser tracing being enabled, and certain other flexibility options that we have. Next, okay, this is about this Medusa dashboard integration. So in the Medusa dashboard integration, so here it is basically talking about this module federation. So in the module federation, if I'm not sure if it would be okay, I'm not sure if it would be clear here, but yeah. So what basically I would like to highlight here is this: we for the nav component, right? We won't be directly providing the version. Instead, these versions will be taken by the dashboard plugin, which is nothing but the Medusa in this case. So Medusa is the one that is going to decide for whatever environment that you are going to use. So what is the version that needs to be deployed or that needs to be used by the component? This is where the dynamicity of how we can change the versions without even doing any deployments. So no deployments are needed. So without doing a deployment, how we can switch between the different versions? So yeah, so that's where this Medusa helps us. And okay, so what I'll do, I'll just show a quick demo on the Sentry, those things. So okay, so the first step that we want to do is, so first we just need to create a projects in the Sentry. So this is how a basic dashboard looks like. So in this dashboard, we just need to create a project, and inside the project. So once you create a project, we will be provided with a DSN. Okay. So with this DSN, so you need to configure the DSNs in your web in your React any code base. And once you configure the Sentry library, it so based on the application key that we have used, so it automatically starts sending the events or the error events, starts sending the error events to the respective projects. So if I go inside this counter app one, right? So here you can see. Let me show. Okay, so here you can see the list of errors that have occurred, and you can assign the team members whom can look into these errors. And so yeah, so it provides and even it also provides us with the feature where you can replay the errors and see what kind of this is this provides the entire details about which browsers and so from where the error has been occurred. So it can also provide the stack trace source map. So source map feature is available. If you enable source map, it can also provide the stack trace. So stack traces can also be seen. And okay, and apart from that, you can also see there is a performance. So as we was talking previously, so we can see how our application performs in different browsers, and was there any memory leaks or those things happen. So those performance metrics can be monitored. And yeah, so let's talk about this alerting dashboard. So this alerting dashboard feature, what it does is, so we can configure the alert rules. So for example, for a particular here it is going to be a project. For a particular project, if after a certain threshold we need to fire an event, so those so it provides us with the uh, list of configurations. So where based on the number of errors that is happening, what is the condition, when, so that's what. So basically when and then. So when something happens, then what should we do? So so this level of configurability is available. It also allows integrations with the other communication channel tools like Slack, those things. Yeah. Okay, so this is about the Sentry. I will also show a glimpse about what the Medusa looks like. So this is a sample application. So in the Medusa, so as I said previously, it is going to be a dashboard compo. It's just a dashboard. Okay. What it shows is, so currently my container is being dependent on two components. So counter app one and app two basically. So yeah, it provides us with what are all the remotes that are available. And then how so yeah, so it basically provides, so we can see it in various views. Let me just a minute. Yeah, so yeah, so it provides, so dependencies can be shown in various views, and so yeah, UML graph will be more clearer. One thing to note here is, apart from seeing these dependencies, or how the chain has been linked, one important thing to notice. So let's say container is my parent application, which is consuming app one and app two, right? Currently, if you can see here, it is using a version. So this is that application that what we are seeing previously. Here you can see hello world is in a red color. Okay, so container is my basic parent application. App one and app two are the two different components that is being used. Now if I want to dynamically change this view, okay, so from so what I have done is, I have changed the version of app2. I have reduced it to a previous version. So now if I try to do a refresh here, we can see that. So dynamically, without even I doing any deployments, I'm free to roll back to the previous version. So this is the power that we get. So so currently I was doing it manually, but Sentry, with the help of this webhook integration, we can even dynamically achieve the self-healing concept. So that's about it. So is there any questions here?
There's one question from Monesh. How different it is Santry from Dynatrace? So how Santry is different from Dynatrace?
Sorry, can you come again?
So how Santry is different from Dynatrace?
I'm not sure on Dynatrace. I have not used it previously, but with Sentry, we get integrations that what we needed. So I'm not sure on how Dynatrace, or we are not evaluated on it. Yeah.
Is it possible to integrate Sentry with Angular or Flutter, other things?
Yeah, it's possible. It supports all different JavaScript frameworks. Yeah.
I think I can answer your question, but not in a very elaborated way. Dynatrace is more of an error logging tool, correct? More than error logging, it gives you RUM, also error tracing. In microservices architecture, again, how do you figure out where the error is? And lot more things. I think Akshay can also add to that. He has more experience on that. Santry is, with my experience, more specific to JavaScript error logging. Like the example also you were showing, correct? It is embedding the Santry within the JavaScript code, so that if you get any error, it actually posts that in the Santry with all the logs and all. Because all the source map files as well. So instead of showing you just the beneath file JavaScript, it actually can take your source maps also to give you the whole trace. Santry is more specific to JavaScript when I used it a few years back. Dynatrace, I think, is much more than that.
In Dynatrace, I have used to get the sacraries where the bundle is broken out. It is also provided in that.
I'm not very sure if Santry can be used as a replacement of Dynatrace.
That's why I don't think.
Dynatrace is much more than Santry. It's much important. Yeah, any other question?
That is very specific model federation plugin. Any micro frontend can use it.
So the question is Medusa, the plugin that we're using, is it very specific to module federation, or we can use it in any other micro-frontend composition as well?
Yeah, to answer this question, yes, it also Sentry also supports other micro front-end frameworks also, like the Turbo Repo or what else we have, White. So yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
I think the question is more on Medusa, the plugin that you are using.
Okay. Medusa, okay, to show, so I took Medusa here just to demonstrate it, but Medusa is more specific to module federation, the Webpacks. Yeah.
Hello. With modules. If you want to build a composition with any other mechanism, it's more that how we use the same Santry key across the microphone. So this plugin gives you a direct way to that is it.
So you mentioned like the Sentry and Medusa for front-end application. Is that possible for like mobile application based on React Native? Like without deployment, we can. No, is that possible?
I'm not sure on mobile developments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm using React Native with Sentry, but that rollback thing, right? So is that possible? We are using in Play Console. So that's why, is that possible, like changing the version? Can we back to the old version of the app? That's what I usually like we build and they upload into the Play Console, right? So that's how I think if it's possible or not.
One of our content downloading instead of the version. Yeah. Here it was micro-frontend version downloaded. I think in case of mobile apps, correct, there is a concept of force update as well. So if anything goes wrong, which needs to be downgraded, you need to configure your mobile app in a way that you can actually force update that. So that like next time the users open it, you have a pop-up to say that you have to upgrade the app where you have solved that error. We have used that in the past, but that is one way you can actually enforce the users to not use the error or buggy app.
Sorry, one question.
Yeah.
So does Sentry also provide screen recordings like Log Rocket? Screen recordings?
Screen, oh yes, it's available.
So we can actually replay the screen.
Yes, exactly. How the errors occurred, it will show. So replay feature is available in Sentry.
Yeah, I have two questions. So one is regarding the errors, right? So I think few of the errors we can able to control with the help of a TypeScript, right? So the compile time itself, we can able to find it. So for an example, the reference error you have shown, right?
Yeah.
So what is the difference? I just want to understand. That is the first question, even though I'll ask the second one, right? The rollback strategies, right? So you said, for an example, some error occurs, we can able to roll back the particular component, right?
Yeah.
So how efficiently in the production environment we can do that?
Okay, I'll answer the second question. So how effectively can this be used in the production environment, right? So let's say we have deployed a new feature. We have deployed a new version of our component, and that's causing an error. Okay. It has started to record in the Sentry. So Sentry records it as there are new issues that is occurring. So we can configure a threshold. So alert configurations can be done in the Sentry. So let's say after a certain threshold, even the error continues to pop up with a particular time frames, right? So let's say if we have configured the time frame for about 5 minutes, but the error keeps popping up, then what this is, so based on the webhook integration with what Sentry has with Medusa, so we can do a self-healing without any deployments being made in the production environment. So yeah, so the
it is a kind of
there won't be any deployments that has to be made, but dynamically we can roll back to the previous versions.
yeah, it's a kind of integration error, something like that. We can take it. So since we have multiple stages of the environment, right? So for an example, dev QA. So within
Yes,
those environment, if the particular error is not happen, but production itself it's occurring, means we can able to identify and figure it out, something like that.
exactly. So the best use case would be, so we should not be using the same this application key, project key for all the same in all the environments. So for example, development, QA, and production, if you are using the same application key, right, then it would be creating a false error. So to best segregate between the different environments, development, QA, or production, it is advisable to use to create a different project with the different keys. So yeah.
That would be the last question. If that has been answered, then we will stop here for the questions and start with the next session.
Yeah, maybe the first one, could you please answer the errors, right? So
Sorry,
can you categorize the reference error I meant, right? So the TypeScript itself, we can able to find it, those kind of issues, right? So in that case, so what are all the errors we can able to capture from a Sentry? So it's a kind of console errors.
And so it all depends on how we are configuring or how we are. So as I shown previously, sentry.init, there is a function that will be provided. So with what level of tracing we need, everything can be configured by the consumers who are using it. So it depends. Yeah, it depends on the use case that we are planning to have.
Thank you.
It's more on runtime errors actually. So as you mentioned, correct, TypeScript will help you to solve the build time errors and you won't get that. So Santry or all these logging kind of mechanisms, correct, help you with all the runtime errors that you cannot figure out during your build process. So all those tools that are there in the market are for runtime errors, not for build time. Was that your question or still not answered?
Yeah. So I think I just want to differentiate that thing. Yeah. So the compile time error and the runtime error. So the runtime means mostly it'll be a integration kind of issues, the AP related issues, something like that, right? So that's why I have asked this question. Yeah.
Like any kind of null check also, correct? So for example, a.b.c, if a is undefined, it will break. You cannot identify that in your build, correct? Your TypeScript interfaces or types will check that if it is not null, so you can proceed. But suddenly A is undefined in the production, it will break. And that error will be logged to Santry if you are integrated with Santry.
Any error that you would notice once your application is either up or is about to be up. That is how, from that state onward, it will be logged into the Sentry. So, right, Vishal said, right, and integration being one of them, right? Happen that some logic is broken for some things will also get logged into the Sentry.